when you go to a psychic medium, oftentimes they will say, I need something of your loved ones, because it holds the energy and it holds the memories. Well, what the psychic medium doesn't have, Fern, that you have, is the love connection. So I always say the symbol is the passport and love is the frequency. And when you bring those things together with intention, I'm getting a cold chill, that's the recipe. So before bed, you find something of your grandmother's, if we're talking about your grandmother, and tune into a very loving memory of her that you have, where you can see her and feel her and make her present with you again because of the symbol, and feel it on your finger and kind of really go into whatever meditative state you can. And I'm setting an intention for you to come visit me in my dreams.
Welcome to Signs from the Other Side with Fern Ronay. I'm your host, Fern Ronay, and this is the place to share stories of signs and messages received from the other side. Real quick before we get started, if you enjoy reading about signs and if you enjoy fiction like Bridget Jones and Sex and the City, you might enjoy my books, Better in the Morning and Better Believe It. And if you like this podcast, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe in Apple Podcasts, and tell a friend too. Thank you so much for listening, and on to the show. Elizabeth Bryan-Jacobs is not only a sculptor, a painter, art therapist, fashion designer, author, including co-author of a Chicken Soup for the Soul book called Count Your Blessings. She is a survivor in a world where it seems everyone is offering advice on how to pull yourself up. Elizabeth has done exactly that. At one time, and this is in the Chicken Soup book, she found out she was millions of dollars in debt after her divorce. And even before that, she survived a sudden and horrific accident that pinned her to the bottom of her car and left her in a wheelchair for months, though she was lucky to survive. Elizabeth Bryan-Jacobs is a survivor, but also she is a healer, a self-healer, and also helping others heal through her program called Creative Awakenings, which I'm so curious to know more about and excited to discuss, and so excited to be face-to-face with you, Elizabeth. It was a blessing, I'm counting my blessings, that you appeared on my FYP on TikTok, and I'm so grateful, and I'm so grateful that we have connected. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, and what an intro. And I want to just say, a big thank you to you, Fern, as we were talking about, let's just call me anyway a wounded healer, but you have done such great work in helping people not think they're crazy, in having these experiences, and 3 books and all of this work and the podcast and your interviews. I mean, so I'm saying a big kudos to you, and
thank you.
Deeply, deeply appreciate.
So the accident that you had, which reading about it, my mouth was on the floor.
Like, I can't even believe you did that work.
Of course, yeah. Sometimes I do so much research that I'm like, I think my guests are like, you're scaring me.
No, it's wonderful.
I go deep, but it really was, horrific. But the first thing you thought of when you're pinned to the ground, you couldn't feel your legs, you heard your friends, and the first thing you said is, thank God they're alive.
Yes.
Have you always been a grateful person?
Well, I will say maybe, but I think that really kind of catalyzed my whole gratitude journey after that. And I also want to add to that, because I had a near-death experience when I was pinned under the car, and then I had another near-death experience in the hospital when I had a pulmonary embolism, and then I had another near-death experience a few years later after a knee surgery. I feel like that kind of, those things opened me to all of this other stuff. So that's what I think, but
yes,
I don't know.
Yes. You, what do you remember the specifics of the near-death experience when you were the first one?
Oh yeah.
You can recall it. Yeah.
I was under the tire, and I was I saw my girlfriend's legs, but then I was completely unconscious and above my body, and I could see and hear everything. I didn't go travel anywhere, but I was fully aware of everything that was happening. And then the next time it happened in my pulmonary embolism, I went much further, And my father was by my side. We were in the hospital. He was sitting by my side, and he kept bringing me back. And I kept trying to leave, and he kept bringing me back. And then the next time was the weirdest time. I was a wild teenager, Fern, and I probably did a lot of like natural things, let's just say. But that experience, I completely left my body and was floating like a little bubble above everything. And I remember actually, and I had coded, right? So they were coming with paddles in the hospital. And I kept thinking, this is like amazing. This feels so good. I don't want to go back. Like I was going and I was going. And then they did the shock things and I went right back into my body.
And that was before the accident?
No, that was after.
Okay,
That was actually after.
Okay.
So there were 3 in total. But I also came into the world and my mother we hemorrhaged and I almost died in utero. But of course, I wasn't aware of it. So
Right.
So we've had all of these kind of, okay. Yeah, so it feels like I ended up in this place kind of naturally somehow.
Yes.
In this work.
Right, all of these 9 lives. Wow. Your parents, I feel so much compassion for because, well, just first of all, getting that phone call, their 19-year-old daughter, then reading the words, let's just hope, the pulmonary embolism. Your mother had happened to read about it a few days earlier and said to the doctor, and said, this is what's happening. Like this is what's happening to her right now. Yeah. And they said, well, if she makes it through the night, she'll live. Hearing those words, my God. Right. And then on top of it all, we could talk about the third near-death experience, but on top of it all, the coincidence that they had experienced a car accident on their honeymoon, New York to Virginia.
I can't even believe you did this research. We, in the Jungian world, we call it synchronicity. And you know this word, right? It's these things that leave you completely breathless. And that whole thing. And I sustained the same injuries that my father did, all that time ago. My mother had to live through it again. And all of that. And then my father keeping me alive through my embolism, that changed my relationship with my father. And later, which I haven't written about yet, it will be in my next book, is that when my father was 92, and he was old, but he wasn't sick yet, he started sharing his dreams with me. And he started, every day I'd call and my mother would say, your father had another crazy dream. I'm putting him on the phone. And Fern, because I do dream work, right? And I was in analysis at the time with a Jungian art therapist, amazing human being. I could tell I was like being called as the surrogate for my father to carry out my father's dreams. Like I knew he would get sick. I knew what would be wrong roundabout. I knew what he needed at the end of his life. And I just knew everything. I actually even knew about when he was going to cross over. And he shared about a dozen dreams with me. But right before that, about maybe 3 or 4 years before that, I had a dream that told me to pay attention to my dreams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had a dream that told me to pay attention to my dreams. So that at that time I was getting a master's in art therapy and I started paying attention to my dreams and I threw myself into analysis with a Jungian, as I said. And, a few years later, my father starts giving me his dreams. And so she and her name is Nora Swan Foster. She's unbelievable. We're kind of unpacking my father's dreams. And, Jung said that dreams are the guiding words of the soul. Well, my father, became ill. He was 93. He couldn't carry out what his dreams. And so everything that you mentioned, the accident, the synchronicity of theirs, of mine, his keeping me here while I'm, dying of a pulmonary embolism, that all led to a spiritual connection between my father and myself that carried me to understanding that when he crossed over, that it was my role to convince my mother that they were going to be together because my mother was completely agnostic. And I did it. So
wow.
I did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So all of these things had to happen the way they had to happen to prepare you for your father's passing, and then ultimately for your mother's passing.
Yes. Yes. And my father was so present. I was asking him for help when my mother was like really, towards end of life and on hospice. I was actively like doing it's very much our therapy, ritual, meditation. We have a secret sauce here that we use. And a lot of it has to do with art, creativity. But my father was very present with me through my mother's ending, and he became very present for her.
Yes.
I have to show you one thing.
The hands. Oh, I was going to say. Yes,
do you want to? That's a synchronicity.
There they are. They were always holding hands, right, in life?
Even
That's
when
so
they
sweet.
slept, I'd go into the bedroom and they'd be holding hands sleeping.
Oh, how sweet. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Wow. So she was agnostic, and then she has you and your father. And so.
Oh, and I was like, no.
You're convinced.
Yeah. And I got her. In the end, I got her. And
yes.
And the most amazing part about it, I have a brilliant recording, audio of her as she was dying, and I was with her on hospice. It was a few days before, and I could hear her. She said, you don't think I'll be gone. I'll always be here for you. And I said, you said you'd send me hearts. There's a TikTok video, and she says, I did. And she actually, my mother was an English teacher from, New York. She says, where will I get them? I said, I don't know.
She's so practical.
But you will. She said, where will I get them? And she's like, I don't know about that, but I will never be gone to you. And, sure enough, the hearts started coming like the day after. But I will say that the night she died, I was sleeping alone in her apartment, and I wasn't sleeping. I was up and I was crying, and I typically will do a meditation from my phone to kind of dial everything back. And I picked up my phone, Fern, and there was a photo of my mother and father and me and my youngest son, and I'm holding each one of their hands. And I went, oh my gosh, they're together. I did it.
Yes. Of all the things that would show up on your phone.
I'm a big person. Those phones and those photo memories are not a joke. Everyone should pay attention.
What was the first heart sign?
So the first one was we were cleaning up my mother's things, and we found some random box of old charms that it was with my brother and my sister, and one of the first ones we opened, there was a heart charm, and I was like, "There's the first heart number one." Yeah.
And so it begins. Yes.
Yeah, and they kept coming. They have been coming ever since. So.
Oh, I love that. And for you to be the one with the going through the things and finding the heart.
Yes.
It had to be
you. Yes. It had to be me. And my brother, who is also very agnostic and atheist, he is now completely turned around and become a believer, because you want to hear another really crazy sign. When my mother was, in the last year of her life, she lived in independent living, and we put an Apple AirTag in her pocketbook in case she wandered off. Her memory was pretty good, but we were nervous. We're Jewish. We didn't want her to get lost. So we put Apple AirTag in her purse. Well, as soon as she died, it started beeping. And Fern, I am not kidding you. It was happening to my brother, who was he was atheist, not even agnostic. And I will tell you that he took the heart charm that I just told you about, okay? And he put it in a little box with my father's penknife. And I have photos of this. And almost every time he opens the box, it starts to beep. I'm not kidding you. And my brother is a very well-known pediatric psychiatrist. And a few weeks ago, he was on national television talking about teenagers and TikTok and self-diagnosis. And he went to the box and he said, Mom and Dad, if there is there's television in heaven, please wish me luck. It started to beep. I'm not kidding you. And he's like, OMG. Oh, this is my brother who believed in nothing.
Right. Nothing. He's a scientist.
Nothing.
Yes.
He's a scientist. He's a researcher. There's nothing. I don't believe he's atheist anymore at all.
I really felt for your mother too when she's, you know, with this, when you were in the hospital, she's like, I already learned the lesson. Like, I went through this with your father. Like, why do I have to go through this again? And that's such like a thing that you would, is a normal thing to think as a human being. We're in this human body. It can be so overwhelming and feel unbearable. What do you think she thinks now is the lesson that she had to do it twice?
That's a great question. I'm looking at her photo. I'm like, Mom, what do you think? Why did you have to do it twice? And my mother, in her practicality, would say, I have no idea, Elizabeth. It sucked. I know what she would say. She's an English teacher. But later in her life, she started to like say things. She would say, shit happens. That's what my mother would say. She would say, Elizabeth, shit happens. Like I said, I'm like, I have to ask her where she's at spiritually now. But what's really interesting to me, Fern, is that for someone who was so agnostic, like I thought to myself, I wonder like how good she'll be at sending signs. Like here's my question. I'm throwing it out there. Maybe you have an opinion about it. Like if you're totally agnostic in life, how easily will you be able to like appear in dreams and send signs? Yes. She's doing such a great job.
Yes.
I'm blown away.
I feel like we're who we are before we get to Earth, and then Earth kind of, you know, this is Earth school, and it kind of screws us up, and we develop these like earthly beliefs and these limitations and these limiting thoughts, and then we go back to who we truly were. And I feel like no matter what you thought on Earth, you go back to spirit, and you're able to harness that energy and when we're here, there's kind of like a what's the word? Like a forgetting. And then she got back there and she remembers and she knows how it works. So you were lying in bed in a rental apartment, recently divorced, and having just found out you were $4 million in debt. My mind was blown. And you had experienced these near-death experiences and had such, you know, you learned health is wealth, and you learned that lesson and gratitude. But when being financially secure or insecure can cause physical, it can cause physical.
Oh yeah.
Pain.
Yeah.
So when you think about that time and the story is so beautiful, you and your sons and how grateful you became. But when you think about that time, if someone's listening to this now and they're in the same situation, how would they get out of it?
Oh, well, I would say, the first thing that came much later that is not, I don't think, in that book is you have to we're women, right? And this is 2025. We have to be educated financially. And so I later found a nonprofit called the Women's Institute for Financial Education, wife.org. And that was a total synchronicity. And, I landed on their website, everything's free. And it said, a man is not a financial plan. And I was like, I glommed onto that. And I called them. I was living in San Diego. And I said, I'm going to be on your doorstep tomorrow. And I'm going to work for you, volunteer for you. And you're never getting rid of me. These two amazing wealth managers, Candace Barr and Janita Wall. And I ended up with them for 8 years, and I helped them roll out divorce workshops across the country, 125 of them, all free, to help women become financially, to learn, to, have financial literacy. And they're still running. They're called Second Saturday Divorce Workshops. They had started they had one in San Diego, and I raised the money to roll out the rest of them all over the country.
Wow. So if you hadn't been in that shocking situation, you wouldn't have helped all of these other people.
No, that's turning pain into purpose.
Yes, absolutely.
That was after that marriage was ended. I was actually with somebody else, repeating history, but that's turning pain into purpose. And I think the most important, so that's it to all women out there, know what's going on in your finances. And at the very least, know how to take care of yourself. That's the period, full stop, right? And so I would say that. And then the very interesting part of it, Fern, is because my former husband and I, we were very much in love for a long time. Call it what you will. He was much older than I am. We healed that in after he died. We were able to heal all of that after he died. And my husband now was a big part of that, because he said, my husband Bobby, who's this incredible man, as my first husband was dying, he said, Elizabeth, you need to write to him. You need to reach out to him. And I said, no, it's good. He'll not, it won't be good. Well, what happened, Fern, was I forced myself to write to him, and I never heard back. And I was like, he wrote back something like, yeah, we had a great thing and you left. And my heart was broken. But after he died, I was going through like junk mail, getting ready for a speaking engagement. There was the most gorgeous email from him telling me how much he loved me, how great I was with our kids. I mean, it was like this after death communication in an email. And, from there, I started having many visitation dreams from him, many, where we healed, where he told me it was okay, where we experienced each other in a loving way again, where we healed. So the most beautiful thing I want to say, and I'm jumping from the finances, because this also happened with my very best friend. We were estranged at the end of life, is that healing can happen. You can reconcile, right? What am I telling you that you don't already know? It happens after death, because
so true.
They need us to grow, right? They're growing still, we're growing still. So he and I made complete peace around it, which the best thing about that was how it helped my sons, right? Because they only saw us like at each other's throat. And now, they're like, mom's a little bit crazy, but my youngest son has visitation dreams also. Aww. So they get yes. it. And so after he passed away, the visitation dreams I had and the after death communication through the email, we healed. Was
that an actual email that he wrote and it just didn't get sent until?
We were so estranged. I had set up a different email because his emails, it was too difficult to look at them during the day. So I sent them to another email address, right? And I was getting ready for a speaking engagement. Fast forward, he's crossed over, and I'm going through like looking for the logistics where I'm supposed to be at the Javits Center or wherever it was. And I find this email, like 2 or 3 of them.
How long before he had passed?
After it was, I'm going to say about a month, only 1 month.
After he passed, you found them. When did he send them? Like years before?
No, he sent them right when my husband, Bobby, he sent them almost immediately after I emailed him. And like I said, I got one line back. Yeah, we had a good thing and you left. So I didn't think he wrote any other emails. Right. I don't know why those particular ones, the loving, beautiful ones, went to the other email. I wasn't supposed to have them then. So
right, until after he passed. It is, wow, that's incredible. Thank God you eventually found them. But even if you hadn't, I think it's still possible to heal after someone's passed. Yes.
My very best friend, after I was divorced, my very best friend who was, I don't know. Are you still gay in the spirit world? I'm sure you are. Anyway.
Is this Byron?
Yes.
Yes.
You read about Byron? Oh,
yes. Oh, yes.
Right. So
and I read the blog post. Yeah. You were very honest in the blog post that you had been a little bit estranged the last time you visited. Yeah.
Very much so. We were very estranged at the end of his life. He was having a lot of physical issues and emotional issues. But I think the physical ones that we didn't know about were also impacting his communication. And so I said to him, you've got to come to New York because you have to come here and paint. You come every summer. I'll send you a ticket. Just come be with me. Come, the kids will come. We'll paint together, all of the above. And he did come. And we were very estranged. And then I saw him in New York City. He was helping my youngest son set up his new apartment. And it was just not good. I think I said something like, maybe I'll see you tonight. And he said, it depends which personality is out. He was very He was very funny. He was very funny. Is very funny. He's still very funny. And that night, Fern, he sent me a poem that was written in the 1800s by Henry Scott Holland called Death is Nothing at All. And I don't know if you know the poem. It's an amazing grief poem. And it says, I have only slipped into the next room. I am I, you and you. Nothing has changed between us. It was this most gorgeous poem. And he wrote on the text, for your book. 10 days later, he very suddenly dies. 10 days later, after he sends me the poem about death, he's gone. And I am like beside myself because we're like, first of all, that's an unbelievable synchronicity. And second of all, we were in such a difficult place. And the morning of his visitation, the morning of his celebration of life at about 4 a.m., I had an unbelievable visitation from him. And we were standing in line at motor vehicles, and he is standing. The woman is saying, oh, there's so much love. I see so much love. And Fern, he is nuzzling my neck and kissing me. And you know how people have a certain smell to them?
Mm-hmm.
And I can smell him and I can feel him. And he says to me, Ellie, because he called me Ellie sometimes, Ellie, it's all love. And you knew what I needed. You knew what I needed. And it's all about love. And I mean, in that moment, we were healed. And
Yes.
since that time, I've probably had, I don't know, 20 visitation dreams from Byron. I mean, we have conversations about what it's like on the other side. He's very irreverent still. We paint together here. I mean, we have this very expanded spiritual relationship what I also am aware of, and I want listeners to know that that doesn't mean you shouldn't grieve the physical part. I mean, that's it. But I really believe they come, as I said earlier, to help us through the grief process, to help us. But, I feel like there are a lot of ways I still haven't grieved his physical loss because I feel him all the time.
When did you start meditating?
After the divorce, after the
Okay.
$4 million in debt, because I had in those days what we used to call like a nervous breakdown, because I lost my home, I lost my business. I was fighting in court, divorce and custody. My business partner at the time sued me. And I lost my mind. And so I was given medications, and that was horrible. So I kind of weaned myself off everything. And I met a guy, to be honest, a new guy like 6 months after, and he was a heavy meditator, and he taught me to meditate. And we obviously did not stay together, but that changed my entire life. And that was probably the reason we came together. So I've been meditating. It's 23 years now.
Right. Yes. And it helps. It helps in so many ways, but yes, I'm not a great meditator, but I'm getting better, and I'm doing things to, even if it's just a little bit every day, that brings me back into my body, so that when things happen that I feel out of my body, I'm able to get back.
And any meditation is good meditation, Fern. And there are many other ways. Like I wrote my master's degree on art as a contemplative practice, and even like those coloring books. I mean, all of that, whatever it is that dials you back, if it works for you, it works. So there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Yes. I listened to another podcast you were on, and you were talking about, it was such a great quote, and I might be butchering, but there's beauty in things when things get destroyed.
Oh,
that there's beauty in that. And so you'll have people create this beautiful art and then throw white paint on it.
or rip. Actually, the original Creative Awakenings, we destroyed it. I'd bring my groups together at Canyon Ranch. I would say, we're going to make this, but then you're going to tear it up. And, everyone could take pictures of it. And then I always gave everyone the option of using the shredded pieces in the final piece of art, which of course they could keep. And so it's kind of this bringing forward what you wanted. And what was interesting is almost no one wanted to use the scraps. and of what they tore up and let go. And it was a lot of ritual, we're letting go, letting in, and all of this. But over the years, I saved everyone's scraps, and now I have these huge bins that I use in all of my workshops that I teach in person, that it's like these gorgeous pieces of people's lives that just hold so much beautiful energy.
That's so interesting to me that they didn't want to keep a piece of because part of me feels like all of the things that have happened to me over my life, I have so many good stories from it, like all of these things that were so painful at the time. But for the most part, I mean, I've got all these stories that have created this, the books I'm writing, and
yes,
just who I am. And
work. Yes.
And so I feel like if I were to destroy the art, it would feel hard. But then I'd be like, oh, I got to take a piece of that because that's
and
my
some
new
people
life.
took home took home the pieces. Like I always had a little Ziploc bag for everyone who wanted to take home the pieces. But it's a letting go of something.
Yeah.
And it's like my amazing supervisor, Barbara Fish, who's an incredible art therapist for decades, says you have to let go of one side of the swimming pool to swim to the other side. You've got to let it go.
Yes, you can't keep holding on. Oh, I love it. I love it. And quite literally in the new piece, it was a brand new canvas. Like you can paint whatever life you want.
Anything's
Anything's possible.
Create your forward life that way.
Yes,
And so it becomes very, visionary.
In all my research, I never came across how you met Bobby.
Oh, it's a great story. Chicken soup for the soul. So it was in the post, divorce insanity. I met an incredible woman named Laura Robinson who invented the game Balderdash. Probably too young. Do you know that game? It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So she and I were just wonderful chemistry together, and we invented a board game called Count Your Blessings. And somehow we got ourselves into the offices of Chicken Soup for the Soul, where my now husband was the current CFO. And we pitched Count Your Blessings to my husband and his partner. And they basically said, okay, you had us said hello. And they said, by the way, why don't you write the Count Your Blessings book and do the book and the game together? And so that's how we met.
And the date of the book, when things finally got finalized, you're like, okay, this is going forward. This is really happening. That date was the day of your accident. How many years before?
Yes. The synchronicities, when you kind of reflect back on it, Fern, it's like, you have to believe it was all meant to be exactly that way, even when you don't like it. And that is a big, Deepak Chopra thing. Like it's for your evolution. So you don't have to like it, but you have to accept it.
Right. Yes. That's my next question, is the accepting part. When you're going through it, it could be so hard to just be like, I know this is for my higher good. I know I'm meant to go through this. It just feels physically so painful. What's the remedy for the physical pain? Is just keep going?
It's a great question. So for me, it's a lot about my art. So I that's how I'm trained, right? We use our art as research, and really time in nature and being able to meditate is the key for, and I really think, to being able to sit with the uncertainty. And I don't know if you know Pema Chodron. She's a Buddhist monk. She wrote a fabulous book called When Things Fall Apart. And I cannot recommend it enough. I mean, she became a Buddhist monk because she was living in Santa Fe, and her husband of like decades came home and said, I'm having an affair and we're getting divorced. And so, but the book is really centered around being able to meditate and sit with the uncomfortable feelings. And it's very similar to grief, right? Because grief is horrific physical pain and emotional pain. But if we give it space, and we can sit with it in a space, and we can contain it in a space, then we are much more able to go on with our day. It's like, okay, I'm going to give myself 30 minutes this morning to sit with this, even if it's like feels impossible. And I am even going to feel the physical pain of it, where it is in my body. And, eventually you start to notice, oh, it's moving, it's not stuck, or, it's getting smaller and it's getting bigger, and you kind of understand that it's not gonna grip you forever. I think it's especially, again, grief, divorce is grief, divorce is a death. It's being able to sit with it somehow and get support. Of course, you have to get support. I'm a big one for therapy, group therapy, whatever it is. But learning to sit with the pain is a key thing. My dreams have guided me through the worst parts of my life after I had the dream that told me to pay attention. Now this is one of the first things I do every day is I go, if I had a dream that I remember, I kind of unpack it as much as I can and go, okay, what is this dream trying to tell me?
Yes.
And I follow it. I go, okay, the dream, a silly example of I'm wearing a yellow shirt and I'm working with my analyst who's now helping me with my book. I go out and I buy a yellow shirt.
Yes. Okay.
Jung always said, and his colleague Marie-Louise von Franz, who was the female counterpart, if you dream that you're baking a cake, bake the cake. And I mean, that dream maker is giving you such personalized healing and information for you. It's mind blowing. It's just like, it's so personal and it's miraculous and humbling.
Yes. How can people find out more about your programs, and how did it evolve from Creative Awakenings to where it is now?
Oh, so it happened because of my father and of Byron, because the experiences became so powerful and healing that you get one of these things. It's like, I have to do that. I have to share this with other people, because I had been working in hospice for my internship, and I was doing a lot of research on end of life dreams and visions. And I'm sure you've heard this, where, the mother or the husband or whoever will come and help the person cross over. And I thought, wow, but they also come during life. Like there's a fabulous researcher, his name is Joshua Black, who's done probably the most research on grief dreams and all of, everything to do with that topic. And it's like over 57% of people have had a dream of someone who is deceased. I'm not talking about signs. Signs are a whole other category. I'm talking about dreaming of the deceased. And I had this aha moment, Fern, where I went, oh my gosh, if they come at the end of life to help us transition, and they come while we're here, while we're grieving, and people have been practicing dream incubation for thousands of years. I mean, go to the Bible, and before that, like, help us with the famine, Pharaoh. You know what I mean? Like, let's put it all together and go, maybe we can practice dream incubation to have them come intentionally. Maybe we can add intention. And so I start, grabbing my art supplies, and I start, creating rituals around this. And I came up with my own kind of formula for here's how you can try it. And I ran my first focus group a year ago, and everyone dreamt of their loved ones. And I had one person who did not. I think there were like 10 of us in that group, and she was having unbelievable signs and signals and synchronicities. And most importantly, I think, was that it decreased everyone's grief intensity by like 50% on a Likert scale, which is how we measure grief in, grief work. And I'm midway through second group now, and everyone's dreaming. I'm like, it's just like, I was interviewing someone yesterday about it, and I was just so humbled. And so that's why I created the program, and the program works. And it's not, I want to really emphasize that I give everyone the structure for it, but then everyone makes it their own. I want everyone to make it their own. It's like, imagine that I'm holding a lantern and saying, here's the path, here are the tools, here's what you need, go forth. Because, we have cultural differences and religious differences. I'm never going to be the one to say, Fern, your ritual should be the same as mine, but it works. First of all, having visitation dreams and grief dreams, this is what research says. 3 things: good dream recall, grief intensity can be important, and an openness to experience. So you've got this. So you've got to work on the dream recall. And I've posted some videos about that, and I have a new one going up. So any snippet, any little tiny, I don't care if it's 3 words, you write it down in the morning. I speak it into my iPhone in my notes app. But the part of it that's important is the intention, right? So intention is like a prayer that's already answered. That's Pat Allen, another amazing art therapist. But you really, before bed, I'm setting an intention to remember my dreams. I'm setting an intention to remember my dreams out loud, write it down, say it 100 times. I mean, whatever's comfortable for you, you do that. And if you want to very specifically dream about your grandmother, okay, I don't know so symbols, I'm very big on symbols. And if you think about it, when you go to a psychic medium, oftentimes they will say, I need something of your loved ones, because it holds the energy and it holds the memories. Well, what the psychic medium doesn't have, Fern, that you have, is the love connection. So I always say the symbol is the passport and love is the frequency. And when you bring those things together with intention, I'm getting a cold chill, that's the recipe. So before bed, you find something of your grandmother's, if we're talking about your grandmother, and whatever it is for you that just like, maybe it's the spoon she cooked with, I don't know, or it's her photo or her favorite music or a ring. Okay. Put it on your finger and tune into a very loving memory of her that you have, where you can see her and feel her and make her present with you again because of the symbol, and feel it on your finger and kind of really go into whatever meditative state you can. And I'm setting an intention for you to come visit me in my dreams. And you can ask her a specific question, but you have to do it again and again. It's a practice. And those are just a few things. And I also, as part of my program, we make these, they're loving memory boxes. This is Byron's. This is one of his paintings. And in here are things of Byron's. It's like, here's his palette knife, and here's his eyeglass case. And so and I have a copy of here's the text that he sent me a week before he died with the poem.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so in my groups, we make these, but I always say to people, if you don't want to make a box, don't make a box. Knit something. It doesn't matter to me what it is. It's the creative practice. It's whatever will connect you to them. But the box is like this sacred container. And again, this is a big part of the program. And it also becomes part of the dream incubation. And it also becomes a symbol in and of itself. It's what contained your grandmother. It's not her ashes. It's the things that represent her, the things that you see and you can be right back with her. And maybe it's a photo, and maybe you're playing music before bed that she loved, or, wearing her ring is very, very powerful. So you're going to have the symbol, and then you're going to tune into the love. And it's the same thing with bringing on more signs, by the way. My mother was dying, and it was hospice, and it was horrible, and, it was beautiful and sacred, but it was also very, very difficult. And I was actively asking for my father. I would come home here and go over to my little altar, shrine to Dad, and ask him for help. And this was an amazing thing. I was back with my mother. I was sitting by her bedside. A few crazy things happened, because I told you my father loves sending photos. And I was telling my mother, Dad loves sending photos. And I picked up my mother's phone, and a video came up, one of those Apple things, Sonny and me. My father's name was Sonny. And it was like 20 pictures of my mother and father together. I'm like, Mom, look, he just did it. And then we hear a crash. Okay. And I run into the kitchen, and the caregiver is sitting there, and she's like in shock. And so my mother had this whole wall of decorative plates that she and my father had collected in their travels. And as I'm telling my mother how good my father is at all this, Fern, it's like the "May God strike me dead" statement. The plate flew off the wall. Here's the plate. And it still has the hook on it where I hung it. And the hook was still in the wall. The hook was still on the wall and the hook is still on the plate. And the plate flew off the wall. And I said to the Constance, who was this amazing caregiver, I said, what happened? And she said, if I'm being honest, I was praying that your mother wouldn't die. And the plate flew off the wall. Okay.
Wow.
It flew. And I was like, Dad, was like, okay. Yeah.
Good one.
and it kept happening with my father.
It was at that exact moment that you were going through the photos with your mom.
Yeah. It was all like the same.
Yes.
Like, Dad's so good at this.
Yes.
Boom.
Yes. And there was no earthly reason why it should come off the wall. The hook's still there. The hook's still there.
The hook is still there. I hung this plate. It's still perfectly intact. The hook.
Yes.
It's still.
Yes.
Yeah. And the hook is still on the wall.
Wow.
So it was like, go Sonny. Yeah. Yeah. Dad is good. Mom's good. They're both good.
Where can everyone find you? And I know you're on TikTok. I will share everything, your website, TikTok, everything.
Thank you.
But if you could, tell everyone.
Yes. So TikTok is my main focal point, Awakenings Dreamwork. And I only have one account. It's been, somebody's duplicating me now. And my website, awakeningsdreamwork.com. And creativeawakenings.net is the main part, but awakeningsdreamwork.com really tells about everything that you and I have been talking about. And there's obviously a way to contact me, sign up for my newsletter, and all of that will kind of reveal how this all unfolds in the next couple of months, because it's like I said, the TikTok blew up so quickly. I haven't really made the time to kind of structurally go, okay, here's the program. Okay, here's what to do. But that's happening this summer for anyone interested in that work.
Thank you so much for listening to Signs from the Other Side. You can find me, Fern Ronay, on all social media at Fern Ronay, Ronay. I love hearing from you and I love hearing your stories of signs. And if you would like to hear more episodes of this show, please be sure to subscribe in Apple Podcasts. Thank you again and sweet dreams.